Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Ironis Insights. I got a special guest for you today, Gary Bierc from AperitiSoft. He's the CEO. Gary, how you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Of course. Where are you calling from?
I'm in Maryland. I'm sitting in good old Pasadena.
All right, excellent, excellent. Yeah, as everyone knows, we're here in New York, so we're both on the East Coast today, probably enjoying this nice 50-degree weather that we have, getting ready for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I come.
Um, Yeah, exactly. I actually just picked up a Christmas tree off of the sidewalk here in New York. I'm getting ready early this year.
Wow. Well, my neighbors are across the street have already got their whole house decorated, so that's a
Yeah,
little ahead of
exactly.
the curve.
Yeah, exactly. Usually it's after Thanksgiving, but thanks for hopping on, man. Really excited to hear a little bit about your background. So, can you tell our audience, your personal history, how you got into cybersecurity, and what made you start the company?
Well, my background actually is in finance and risk. What I'm really known for, I'm an early pioneer in enterprise-wide risk management. I did it in a manufacturing firm. If anybody's out there listening, can remember old Moore business forms. They were a pretty large multinational company at the time and fully implemented the program back in the late 90s, around the year 2000, with some great success. Somewhere along the way, after starting my own consulting firm, I developed some software. And in that software, we're talking about AperitiSoft. In that software, we had a client who had a cybersecurity issue. They needed to become DFARS compliant. So we began to work with the software to be able to adapt to different cybersecurity standards. And voila, here we are today, now helping out cybersecurity consulting firms and end user clients to become compliant in cybersecurity. Yeah,
Interesting. So you kind of you pivoted almost just to adhere to your client's needs, and that's what made you develop, kind of get into the cybersecurity space.
absolutely. Absolutely. What was interesting, and I guess my competition would argue against me, but because the software was developed with the risk management process in mind,
Yeah.
which is really a universal process, it is perfectly adapted to be able to be used for not only doing controls assessments, but you can do your risk assessments, you can do business impact analyses, all in the same platform. So it gives you one platform to be able to have all this at your fingertips. Yeah,
I mean, that sounds very efficient. I'm sure your clients love that.
they
And
do. They do. Yeah. And it's funny, it doesn't matter if you're trying to go for SOC 2, you don't care about certification, you just want to have a buttoned up ship, or you want to be FedRAMP certified. The same tool can be applied to all of these. And what's cool about us is we can get you up and running in weeks. It isn't a long installation process. And we're affordable because you pay for what you need. I sound like Liberty Mutual, but that's the way we operate. We don't care about how many users you have. It's really how many solutions do you need to use simultaneously. That's how we operate.
interesting. So you have, should I say, like an a la carte of services that they can select from, or
Well, it's the same basic universal application that then they say, well, I want to have an 800-53. Well, we have already built some content around 800-53, but let's just say we did not.
Mhm.
We could, within a week or so, upload the entire catalog for them and they're off and running.
Wow, nice.
Because it's kind of like having a great shortstop. It can field any ground ball.
Yeah, every team needs a great shortstop. That's usually where the best player goes.
Absolutely, or center field, but people don't know.
I played center field, no big deal.
But you must have been quite an athlete.
That's great. All right, cool. So you mentioned, your clients, your partners. So who are your clients ideally, and or who are you servicing now? Is it SMBs, mid-tier, enterprise, all the above?
We like the small to mid-sized businesses primarily because the decision-making process is a lot shorter.
Yep.
We could accommodate for the larger companies. Often their risk profile is a little different. I'm not willing to spend $100,000 to be Gartner, Magic Quadrant listed. So, if they're looking for that, I'm not a good fit for them.
Sure.
But if they don't care about that, they'll find that the innovation that's in our software is bar none. Um, we've worked with small, very small public companies, private enterprises, nonprofits, consulting firms. Probably most of our installations are with consulting firms who use it with their clients.
Hmm. Hmm. No, that makes sense. So interesting. So you mostly working with consulting firms. Are you geographically based, or are they anywhere in the US?
They could be anywhere. And what's cool about it is that they're all usually in the cybersecurity realm, right?
Sure.
So they need to do that initial gap analysis with their clients. They use our software to help them do that. Then they have to move on to develop a contingency plan. So they'll do a business impact analysis with us. Then, of course, to be fully compliant, you have to have an annual risk assessment. So they use our tool to do that as well. What we don't do is we don't drop an agent into the client's systems and tell them where the configurations are bad. That's something that somebody else would do for them. So we're really more in that GRC space in terms of how our software operates. But you will have a software tool where all of your evidence is in one place. So if you are seeking certification, you have to have an auditor go and look through your controls. Everything's right there at the fingertips. Should cost you less money
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get yourself certified.
Of
Yeah,
course, because it's all right in front of you, right? And
right. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, no, that's definitely valuable. Okay, interesting. So, I mean, these clients, how are you going about finding them? I mean, you've been around a while now. How long has your company been open?
My company, beginning as a consulting firm, has been around since 2002, so
Yeah,
23 years. As
incredible.
a software company, we've been doing it for about 10 years.
Yeah.
We've adapted with the times. Now we actually rely on LinkedIn quite a bit.
Okay.
And I have found that LinkedIn advertising is quite effective.
Uh-huh.
It's different than Google Ads. I think everyone's kind of used to seeing the sponsored listings all the time when they do a Google search. And Google Ads are pretty expensive as well. But over LinkedIn ads can be a little bit more personal. You're putting a post out there and people are reacting to the post. And
Mhm.
often they're the perfect fit for the type of customers we're looking for.
Awesome. I imagine you probably have some referrals too. I mean, you've been
Oh,
around.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Right.
well, that's great. I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like you guys are doing very well.
Well, we had we're not a externally funded company. So an old friend of mine would always say there's a trade-off between time and money.
Hmm.
So if you've got a lot of money invested in your company, you can compress time.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
don't have it, then it takes longer to get everything that you want to have done built. We've gone through that now. We now have a great product, so we're pivoting more of our effort towards growth
Sure.
than before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're in a great place. I'm excited for 2026 for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, speaking of growth, I mean, you had to have seen so many different changes from 10 years ago when you got into this space to now.
Well,
What?
there's been a lot of change. I mean, back when we were getting started in cybersecurity, if you were a defense contractor, you were worried about DFARS certification. Today, there's this new thing called CMMC,
Yep.
and a lot of the small guys are scrambling now
Hmm.
to try to get themselves certified. Many of the consultants we're working with are pointed right at that market
Hmm.
and using our platform to help them to do that.
Yeah.
Big change. AI is the other big change that's out there. We're now starting to hear about some pretty large events where AI driven hackers, where 80% of what they've done was an AI driven hack, going in and placing ransomware.
Hmm.
So it's becoming a little bit more difficult to defend. So the threat actors are adapting to the environment around them. The same tools that we're all trying to enjoy for positive purposes, they're using for bad purposes.
Yeah, and this is a common thread, and it gets brought up on almost every one of my calls and conversations is they don't really have to cherry pick anymore. It's really just because it doesn't take as much time, right? So they can just really blast it out to the world and just see what sticks.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's happening.
Yeah,
They are allowed now with a tool like that to be taking a shotgun approach to criminal activity.
which I think just makes it more important to have some of that awareness and that education out there, especially to these SMBs that, like you said, are not prepared for compliance changes, not prepared for, or not really understanding that there is real risk out there.
Yeah, where before you'd say, I'm too small.
Yeah,
I don't really need to be doing all of this. I'm not on the radar screen. You can't get blood out of a turnip. Well, that's not what they're doing now. With AI, hey, look, if I can get $20,000 out of you and I can do 100 of those,
it's not
right?
small potatoes anymore, right?
Right. That's right. So with
Exactly.
AI, they can get a $2 million payday, right, with the same amount of effort as they would do with just one.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, I mean it just makes it that much more important to not only educate but protect, especially these small companies. I mean, the statistic is the small businesses that get hacked or have some type of invasion intrusion. 60% of them are closed in 6 months.
Yep.
It's probably higher than that actually now.
I believe that. I believe that. And
And
the thing is, it can be simple as this: have good backups. All right. I mean, it seems like a dumb thing, but so many companies do not back up their data regularly, and it has to be adapted to what their sensitivity is with their clients.
Mhm.
But it has to be regularly, and it has to be in an offsite, completely segregated location that cannot be hacked through the ransomware event.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do. If they do that, then they clean everything and reboot and re-upload. It might take a day or two, but they're back in business.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's most important is trying to keep these companies afloat. Because I mean, I've shared on this podcast before, but there's a laundromat, uh, someone I know here in New York, and they got hacked, their entire system, everyone's information, all the orders, and they're like, well, why would I be a target? Why would I be a target? Because it's information, and who knows what they can do and pull from this information. And they asked for $40,000, or we're not going to give it back, and they didn't have anything in their system. And it's like, what do you do? How do you know that you're actually going to get everything back? How do you know they're not going to do it again? Because now they know they can breach you. Yeah, it's like they have to really take it
No,
seriously.
then you're talking about the prevention side too. So
Yeah.
the number one way they get in is phishing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're getting creative with these phishing
I
things.
know.
Have
I
you noticed that? I don't know who's doing this, but in the last 2 months, all of a sudden I'm getting calendar invites on my Outlook calendar for crazy things like you owe us money or
Huh.
pay the bill, and it shows up as a calendar invite.
So
So
strange.
you have to just delete that stuff and then make sure you're cleaning your trash bin as often as possible. Never click on a link ever. Um,
Especially now. I mean, it's funny you mentioned fishing because I was going to get into that too. Now, I mean, we're in November, coming up on Black Friday. You have Christmas coming up, the holidays,
yeah,
Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Right now is the time where people are shopping. So here's a free iPad. Here's click here for this link. It's like, guys, please don't click these things. Nothing in life is free.
exactly. No attachments, no links. If you don't know who they are and you can't verify, you should never click on it. And it's just a simple tip. Just look at the email address where it came from,
Yeah.
right? If they're claiming it's Kohl's and it's coming from, Insight, IronisInsights.com, and it says it's from Kohl's.
Yeah.
Don't open that link.
It's a good first level check.
That's right. Isn't that hard? But I mean, good awareness training, for every employee to understand these simple things and just how big of a deal it really is important, right? Don't take things lightly. It might be that you won't have a job to go back to if you screw up.
Exactly.
Right.
And I mean, I've seen so many of these phishing experiments, right? That you will do to a company. It's never 100% pass rate.
Oh, never. No way.
0%.
I mean, if they say the right things, if people are in a hurry, they're going to click on something,
hmm Yeah.
you know. Multi-factor authentication, very, very, very important,
hmm
right? Now that's a front door, right? That's just putting a good lock on the front door. Now, again, these phishing events, that's kind of a side door where
Yeah.
somebody let them in a window, right?
hmm
That's a little bit different than the front door. But the more and more you can minimize these things, the better shot you have of defending yourself.
Yeah,
And then,
I think this brings back to another one of my guests who mentioned the yippy dog theory. It's like you want to be the house that has the yippy dog, so the robber will kind of like skip past it or maybe not try to penetrate it so much. They'll go for the
right.
house that has all the lights off and has the newspapers stacked up, maybe.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, criminals are criminals. They think the same way,
Yeah, yeah,
you know. So you do want to have the yappy dog,
yeah, yeah.
without a doubt. Um, it's it's a good thing to have. It's kind of a weird analogy for cyber crimes,
But
but
it works.
yeah, it does work. And the thing that I think everyone needs to be aware of is that, you know, going through a good information security, cybersecurity process might seem like it is a laborious thing. Now, there are frameworks like CIS 18, which are very much plain English. They got different levels depending on the size of your organization. Go through a self assessment of one of those things.
hmm
Use software like mine to help you.
hmm
It can be made very affordable. A couple $1,000 investment is going to save you tens of thousands of dollars
Right.
because you're
And
going to find out right away where you're vulnerable. And those stupid pesky policies you have to write. Yeah, draw a line in the sand officially what your stance is for cybersecurity. You need to do it. And yeah, you have to write procedures, not to just say it. The idea of the procedure is that you are consciously saying, and this is how we're going to do it.
hmm
So it's as much a tool for you as it is for the auditor who wants to see that you have something in place. And that goes with those uh, um, continuous monitoring plans and your contingency plans and your incident response and handling plans. All of that is important because you're thinking out what you're going to do to minimize the loss. Because you know what? It's going to happen to you.
yeah, it's really not a matter of if, right? It's going to happen the way, especially the way that they're executing it now, and that's why we're doing these things. That's why we're talking right now.
Yeah.
That's why we're trying to get the word out and just explain that how serious this is and that the threat is real.
I had a client one time and they went through a change in management. It was a merger.
hmm
And the new team came in and they ended up letting us go, right? They said, we're not going to renew. And the reasoning was, okay, I don't care what the predecessor did.
Okay.
I don't find value in this information of cybersecurity stuff.
Uh-huh.
I've got good firewalls. I've got good antivirus. So the idea, the notion is that through mechanisms, I'm going to protect myself. Well, I mean, that's again a fool's errand.
hmm
And, I don't know if they ever did get hacked, but I'm going to guess it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume so, unfortunately. I mean that's the biggest misconception right now. I mean, yeah, oh, I have a firewall, I have antivirus, I'm good. That's
Yeah,
not enough anymore.
no. And you have to have those things.
Right.
But you got to do a lot of things. Like with me, with my application, I've got to scan any files anybody uploads going into my application. So nothing enters my environment without going through the screening at the TSA at the airport.
Yeah.
Hands over your head.
Everyone knows how fun that is.
Right. So, I mean, that, is what you need to be doing because you have to have it's almost like your uh, technology environment needs to be like a surgical ward. It's got to be sanitary,
Yeah.
right? So when people enter the environment, the hands are up and somebody puts gloves on because, it literally needs to be treated that way. You got to
Yeah.
take that mentality, about your systems because bad guys are trying to get in there.
Mm-hmm. No, that
Right?
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, from a technology now like AperitiSoft, one of the things that you're able to do is the step by step go through all of these different requirements depending on what you want to use, and you do it at your own pace. You can
Hmm.
use survey tools to ask the right people, the questions that apply to their area of expertise,
Hmm.
right? So it's not this, oh my gosh, I got to go through this entire thing. You can break it down into chunks, get people to respond.
Hmm.
Once you finally have a baseline, you can build your action plans right in the system and monitor your progress. And you can set, like I said, you can set it at your own pace. You can set your own deadlines of when you want all these things to be done, and just be realistic. But now you have something that you can go to every day and monitor your progress.
I find that's really helpful, especially breaking it into little chunks, and because people do not, including me, do not have high attention spans,
No, 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 not at
and
all.
it can
I
be
mean,
overwhelming.
give you an example. One of our clients, they needed to become SOC 2 certified.
Hmm.
So from zero, okay, which they had nothing, they did their baseline assessment first. Of course, they failed miserably. Okay, so they had nothing. I mean, it was more than 80% was in the red.
Hmm.
So using the software and developing action plans around this, they were able in 4 to 5 months to be fully ready for SOC 2 audit, and they passed the audit.
Wow.
Right. So what did the software really do? Okay. Well, it you walk away, you come back, you know where you were.
Right.
It seems like a dumb thing, right? But but if you're using Excel spreadsheets, you're not going to have that,
Yep.
right? It also aggregates what you're doing and gives you a sense of what your score is towards the goal,
Hmm.
right? So you can see progress towards getting things done.
Right. Right. No, that definitely helpful just to check as you're going along, and seeing that feedback changing, and I bet that can really move things along quicker.
And since the score, you have an aggregated score, and
Yeah.
that's being changed as you're getting things accomplished, the system automatically does that for you. When everything is completed, and a lot of these controls assessments, depending on the standard, most of them say you need to do at least once a year.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, now you can recycle this thing. Okay. You can recycle it. Everything you did last year is saved in its totality.
Hmm.
Then you bring forward the new year and you can say, has anything changed on any of these controls and our ability to comply?
Hmm.
Right. Also, all those action plans you had in the previous cycle now are in your evidence locker, right? They're all in there listed as things that you've already got in place.
Right. Right.
So if it's a policy, you just need to go in and update the policy. That's all it's involved.
So much easier after the first sweep.
No doubt. No doubt. And
Yeah.
now you have a tool that's going to help you to be able to maintain all of that into perpetuity.
Right. Right. I mean, it
So
sounds
that's
like this is a really great tool, and it works very well. I mean, what challenges are you seeing, either with with the with the tool, what challenges you're seeing with companies that have been a little bit problematic?
not quite understand the question. Ask it another way so I can understand what you're
Yeah,
really
no
asking.
problem. So what challenges are you seeing in the market today when it comes to like implementation of these of your tool?
I mean, the big thing is stubbornness. I mean,
Mm,
I mean, I wish I could say there's a technological challenge but it isn't. There's a stubbornness that I don't need this. Or there are a lot of tools out there that are quick. They're cheap and quick. You go through, you ask a bunch of questions, and it tells you this is what your issues are and your score, and they feel like they've got it done, right? Rather than have something that really manages truth.
Interesting. So some like quick shortcut competition kind of, and then just some
Yeah,
people
but
just
there's a
not
lot
needing it.
speed and a
Not needing
lot, and saying that, well, I already did my 800-53. Why do I now have to do ISO 27001? Isn't it the same thing?
it.
So they have tools out there that will crosswalk,
Right.
right? Okay. If that's what you really want is just a crosswalk, but is that really what you're looking for?
hmm
Are you really looking for something that's going to be helping you continuously manage your cybersecurity profile?
Right. And you have to overcome these objections by basically just educating them, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
And usually it takes an event to wake people up,
I know.
unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that's usually how we learn.
Yeah, but that's just life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are where we are with, AI changing things. What do you think's happening next year? What do you think? What do you see the future right now?
Well, I mean, I think the AI is going to become more and more of a problem. CMMC is clearly going to be in the forefront of everyone's minds because they're behind the eight ball already.
hmm
Um, I think the key um, is to stay ahead of what's out there. And, there are a lot of services that people provide to talk about what the threats are and how they're changing. That's a simple little thing. They're cheap. So a lot of them are free to just subscribe to a threat service.
hmm
Be aware of what's going on. And when you start seeing things happening that are starting to get closer to your neighborhood, and if you haven't done something yet, you need to act.
Right. No, I mean, I think I couldn't put it better myself. I mean, right now is just the time to get ahead because we don't know what's coming. It's only going to get more advanced. There's only going to be more sophisticated tools out there. AI is improving every day.
There's,
Um,
there is one other thing I can mention.
yeah.
Since we are an enterprise risk management software tool, we built into our software a Monte Carlo simulation engine.
hmm
They're going to say, okay, well, what's that for?
hmm
Okay. Well, the idea with Monte Carlo is that now you can use statistical science to put a dollar value on your risk profile. So now cyber practitioners can go to the C-suite and not talk about red, yellow, green, but can come in and tell their bosses, our exposure is $2 million. How did you arrive at that? And now they have a way they can demonstrate how they arrived at that. And
Interesting.
now
So it'll actually tell you how much money you're going to lose.
potentially you have at risk to lose.
That's very helpful, especially depending on the company, right? How many employees there are and who's running the
Yeah.
ship. If you're an IT person explaining this to a board or to the CEO,
Yeah.
number one question they ask is like, why do I have to worry about this?
Exactly. If you can put it in dollars terms, that's their language,
Yeah, yeah, that's
right?
awesome.
That's what they want to know. And
Very
for
cool.
some of the more sophisticated clients, we have a partnership with an organization that literally gets it down to modeling science, where they can come in and tell you by your basic profile, how many employees, how many, types of systems, blah,
Sure.
blah, blah. They're going to tell you using research into the dark web and into the internet to industry databases and benchmarking what your exposure is. So that's more of a empirical approach.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
I mean, this has been incredibly insightful, Gary. I really appreciate your time here. Just really quick, for the audience, where can they find you?
AperitiSoft.com. That's
Okay.
AperitiSoft.com. We got a nice video on the homepage. It's a little explainer video about what we do.
Awesome.
And just click on there to request the demo, and we'll reach out to you right away.
Amazing. I'll put the link right below the video here too for you guys. So you
Okay.
don't have to worry about the spelling. And Gary, I want to thank you again, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too, Alex. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks. Bye.